Meredith sighed as she sorted through the stack of rental applications on her desk. At 52, she had been managing the apartment complex alone since her husband passed away 5 years ago. It kept her busy, which helped with the loneliness, but some days the weight of her solitude felt especially heavy. An application near the bottom of the stack caught her eye. Jude Peterson, a 26-year-old graduate student. Meredith scanned his credentials, impressed by his academic achievements despite his young age. With a pang, she realized he was the same age her son Danny would have been, had he not died in a car crash at 19. Danny had been her only child, and his loss left a void that could never be filled. Meredith approved Jude's application and readied his apartment. When move-in day arrived, she couldn't help but notice Jude's resemblance to her late son, the same chestnut hair, warm smile, and earnest eyes. Jude was polite and friendly as she showed him around, and Meredith found herself drawn to his gentle demeanor. Over the following weeks, Meredith kept finding excuses to run into Jude, bringing him extra towels, checking if he needed anything. He always greeted her warmly, and they'd chat about his studies and local goings-on. Without even realizing it, Meredith began looking forward to these conversations, feeling a spark of something she hadn't experienced in years. One evening, Meredith was walking her dog Max through the courtyard when she spotted Jude sitting forlornly on a bench. She approached and asked if everything was all right. Jude sighed and admitted he was missing his family, having moved away for school and feeling the isolation. Meredith empathized, sharing her own story of loss and loneliness. The two talked for hours under the stars, finding solace in each other's company. When Jude mentioned he played guitar, Meredith lit up, sharing that Danny had too. She still had his old acoustic gathering dust in her closet. The next day, she brought it to Jude, insisting he keep it. He was touched by the meaningful gesture. Jude began stopping by regularly to play music with Meredith. She taught him Danny's favorite songs, and they'd sing together, their voices harmonizing sweetly. Music became their language, saying the things their words could not. An undeniable bond was forming, much deeper than landlord and tenant. Meredith knew her feelings were crossing a line, but she couldn't help herself. Being around Jude made her feel alive again, like color was seeping back into a black and white world. She found herself primping in the mirror when she knew Jude was coming over, choosing flattering outfits, daydreaming about his hands strumming the strings. It all came to a head one stormy night. The power had gone out, and Jude came to check on Meredith. Lit only by candlelight, a palpable tension crackled between them. Gazing into each other's eyes, they both felt the unspoken attraction, the shared longing for connection. Throwing caution to the wind, Meredith pulled Jude into a passionate kiss, and he returned it with equal fervor. They fell into a clandestine romance, intoxicated by lust and the thrill of secrecy. Jude began spending his nights in Meredith's bed, their limbs intertwined as she marveled at his taut muscles and smooth skin. She was renewed by his youthful energy and the way he worshipped her body. During the day, they'd steal furtive glances, exchange illicit touches, drunk on their private tryst. But reality began seeping into their fantasy. Meredith knew she was risking her reputation and livelihood by having an affair with a tenant half her age. Jude, too, began to have misgivings, uncomfortable with the deception it required. They both sensed their romance had an expiration date, that it couldn't last in the real world. After a particularly idyllic weekend together, Jude sat Meredith down for a difficult conversation. He had been offered his dream research position, on the other side of the country. They both knew what it meant. With tears in their eyes, Jude and Meredith made the painful decision to end things, knowing it was for the best. On Jude's last night, they came together one final time, pouring all their passion and unspoken feelings into the act. They cried in each other's arms afterwards, both mourning the end of something unexpectedly beautiful. Jude left the next morning after a prolonged goodbye. He returned the key to his apartment, and with it, the key to Meredith's awakened heart. The following months were difficult as Meredith adjusted to Jude's absence, her bed feeling colder, her days less vibrant without his presence. She threw herself into her work and hobbies, determined not to slide back into despair. Slowly but surely, she rediscovered her own strength and zest for life, realizing Jude had been a catalyst, not her sole source of happiness. One fall day, Meredith found herself reorganizing her closet and came across a box of Danny's old things. Rifling through the memories, she unearthed a letter he had written her before he died, but she had been too grief-stricken to read at the time. With trembling hands, she unfolded the worn paper. "Dear Mom," it began. "I know I don't say it enough, but I love you so much. You're the strongest, most caring person I know. I see how hard Dad's death has been on you, but I believe your heart has an infinite capacity for love. You have so much light to share with the world still. I hope you'll be open to love and happiness again, in whatever forms they take. You deserve that more than anyone. Never forget how deeply you are loved. Forever your son, Danny." Tears rolled down Meredith's cheeks as she hugged the letter to her chest. Danny's words echoed the lessons from her time with Jude, that she was resilient, that she could find joy and meaning again. Her brief affair had reawakened the parts of herself she thought were lost forever. She would always love her late husband and son, but they'd want her to live fully, to open her heart without fear. Meredith thought of a conversation with Jude near the end of their relationship. "I used to feel guilty," she had admitted, "like being with you was betraying my husband's memory. But I realized that loving you doesn't diminish my love for him. If anything, you've reminded me how much I'm capable of feeling. The human heart is an incredible thing." Jude had kissed her tenderly. "Meredith, you've been through more heartache than anyone should bear, but you haven't let it make you hard. You love so deeply. That's a gift. You've brought me back to life too, you know. I'll always carry you with me." Sitting on her bedroom floor, Meredith smiled through her tears at the memory. She would carry Jude with her too, a bittersweet reminder of her capacity to love and be loved. He had come into her life when she needed him most, showing her that second chances at love and happiness were possible. Meredith folded Danny's letter carefully back into the box. She would be okay. More than that, she would thrive, embracing life with the fullness of her huge heart. No more hiding or holding back. She was grateful for it all, the love and the loss that had made her who she was. Stepping to her window, Meredith gazed out at the brilliant colors of the autumn trees and the busy lives unfolding in the courtyard below her. She felt a sense of peace and hope wash over her. Somewhere out there was more love to experience, more life to live. And Meredith would meet it with open arms and an open heart, come what may. Her next chapter was just beginning. Meredith took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and possibility. She couldn't change her past, but she could shape her future. With a determined smile, she began making plans to rediscover old passions and explore new horizons. She dusted off her old paint set and easel, remembering the joy she once found in capturing the world on canvas. Meredith set up a small studio in the spare room, letting the bright colors and bold strokes express the emotions she had kept inside for so long. Painting became her solace, a way to process her grief and celebrate the beauty that still existed all around her. Meredith also started volunteering at the local community center, teaching art classes to underprivileged youth. She saw a flicker of her younger self in their eager faces, remembering the dreams she had before life took its unexpected turns. Helping these kids find their own voices through creativity filled Meredith with a sense of purpose she had been missing. As she poured her energy into new pursuits, Meredith's world began to expand. She struck up friendships with fellow volunteers and artists, finding a sense of community and belonging. Laughter came easier, and the weight of her loneliness slowly lifted. For the first time in years, Meredith felt truly alive. Still, there were moments when thoughts of Jude would catch her off guard, a song on the radio that reminded her of their time together, or a lingering dream of his touch. Meredith didn't fight these memories. She let herself feel the bittersweet ache, knowing it was a reminder of her capacity to love deeply. She hoped that wherever Jude was, he was chasing his dreams and finding happiness. Months turned into years, and Meredith continued to grow and thrive. She became a respected figure in the local art community, even selling a few paintings. Her volunteer work blossomed into a full-fledged youth arts program, changing countless lives. Meredith's own heart had healed too, the scars of loss now faded reminders of her resilience. One crisp autumn evening, Meredith was overseeing an art show at the community center when a familiar voice caught her attention. She turned to see Jude standing a few feet away, looking at her with a mixture of hesitation and hope. Meredith's heart leapt into her throat as she took him in, a little older, a little wiser, but still the same soulful eyes. "Jude," she breathed, hardly believing he was real. "What are you doing here?" He gave her a crooked smile. "I was in town for a conference and heard about the show. I had to see it for myself. I had to see you." Meredith's pulse raced as Jude stepped closer, his gaze locking with hers. "I've missed you, Meredith. Not a day has gone by that I haven't thought about you, about what we shared." Tears pricked at Meredith's eyes. "I've missed you too, Jude, more than you know." He reached out and took her hand, electricity sparking at the contact. "I know we said our goodbye, but I can't shake the feeling that it wasn't the end of our story. Seeing you again, it's like coming home." Meredith's heart swelled with emotion, her feelings for Jude rushing back like a tidal wave, but she had learned to love herself in their time apart. She wouldn't dive headfirst into heartache again. "Jude, I care for you deeply, but we can't just pick up where we left off. We've both changed and grown." Jude nodded, understanding in his eyes. "You're right, but that doesn't change how I feel about you, how connected I am to you. I'm not asking to go backwards, Meredith. I'm asking for a chance to build something new, something real." Meredith knew that life rarely offered second chances like this. Here was an opportunity to love again, to take a leap of faith with someone who understood her to her core. It terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. "I'm willing to try," she said softly, "to see if we can create something beautiful together. But we have to take it slow, be honest with each other every step of the way." Jude brought her hand to his lips, kissing it tenderly. "I want to do this right, Meredith. You're worth taking the time for." They spent the rest of the evening talking and reconnecting, marveling at the unexpected turn of events. In the coming weeks, they took things slow, going on proper dates and getting to know each other anew. Jude was in awe of the vibrant, self-assured woman Meredith had become, and she was impressed by the thoughtful, driven man he had grown into. Slowly but surely, they fell in love all over again. A deeper, richer love founded on mutual respect, shared experience, and the knowledge of what they could survive apart and together. When Jude eventually proposed, Meredith said yes without hesitation, knowing in her heart that their two broken roads had led them back to each other. On a perfect spring day, surrounded by blooming flowers and beaming faces, Meredith and Jude exchanged vows. As they held each other close for their first dance, Meredith caught a glimpse of a familiar figure out of the corner of her eye. For just a moment, she could have sworn she saw Danny smiling at her, his eyes shining with love and approval. Tears of joy streamed down Meredith's face as she looked up at her new husband, her partner in every sense of the word. She knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, hand in hand and heart to heart. Meredith's once shattered life had been pieced back together, the broken bits rearranged into a stunning mosaic, a testament to the power of resilience, hope, and love. And as she stepped into this new chapter with Jude by her side, Meredith knew that the best was yet to come.